What's up, everybody? We got another episode of Cronkite Sports Live for you right now. I'm Alex Capriello. Alongside me is Jake Garcia. We got a stacked show for you today, folks. How you feeling, my man?
Oh, I'm feeling great. No need to make Cronkite Sports Live fun again because it never stopped. It's always a good day when we're projected for a 20-minute show.
That's true. Let's hope we can hit it. In broadcast journalism, there's a saying that goes, if it bleeds, it leads. Now, while Arizona State football, with its 3-0 start, isn't exactly bleeding, it's coming pretty darn close. The Sun Devils were able to narrowly escape UT San Antonio last weekend with an ugly 32-28 win that wasn't actually in the books until the final minutes of the game. Now, this Saturday, the Devils will have an even greater challenge at home when they open up Pac-12 play against Cal, a team that pulled off a red-hot upset over number 11 Texas. The Golden Bears boast an air raid offense similar to the one ASU faced 2 weekends ago against Texas Tech. Early predictions of the game describe a shootout between these two teams. And to chat more about this, we bring in Troy Lynch. Troy, it's always great to have you, my friend.
It's always great to be asked questions by you.
Well, I'll do my best here. I first want to start out with ASU's defense. This is a group that has had position players move around quite a bit and a struggling secondary that's allowing almost 400 yards per game in the air. Tell me, is ASU going to be in trouble this weekend?
Well, yeah, no, there's no doubt that Cal's offense is going to give Arizona State some fits going into this game, but honestly, it's going to be a shootout like you just said. But Arizona State's defense, they can come up in big plays like they've done in the past. We've seen Gump Hayes. He's got a few interceptions against Patrick Mahomes, who was one of the dark horses for the Heisman race. So take a look at Cal last weekend, so we're going to talk about Cal first. Their offensive scheme, they got 5 offensive linemen, and then they also have the extra offensive lineman in the backfield. Hey, add a number 7 right there. You got the running back. So you got Daniel Webb's, he's in the backfield. He's a great pocket passer. So here he is right now. There's pretty good pressure. However, it's 7-on-4, and that 7 is going to win almost every single time. And Webb is just a touchdown dispensary. He already knows he's not going to get sacked just because of great pressure. Now he's going to throw it now down to his favorite target, Chad Hansen. Boy, is this guy hot right now. And then he has not a ton of space. You can see only about a foot, but he's still able to make a catch with not a ton of space in the end zone. Picture perfect, and honestly, that's going to give Arizona State defense do. And even though Arizona State has some good defensive line, they're going to really need to penetrate, maybe blitz a few more times, and get to Webb.
Cal offense is definitely lethal. Is there a few players on ASU's defense that can step up and show them what they got?
Yeah, it's going to be huge having Salamo Fiso back. And we take a look at the ASU defensive front against UTSA last week. It's a 4-3, and they got 4 defensive linemen. And then they're going to have to go up against Stern, who's in the backfield right now. What I really want you guys to look at is DJ Calhoun over here, one of the linebackers. He's going to drop back. They're in a zone right now. And now good pressure coming from the few defenders for Arizona State. However, they're in that zone, and they give Stern just way too much room over on the far side. DJ Calhoun, he's going to come on up. However, stop right there. He's just going to be a little too late. Stern's already in his motion. He's letting the ball go. Now, if you have a few more defenders coming on up, they could get him. However, top right corner, you see that the wide receiver has just enough space just because Gump Hayes is in that zone formation, so he just doesn't have that much time. If they were in man, it could be a whole different ballgame. But the thing is, I don't think that's a problem with the players per se. I think it's the play calling. Defensive coordinator Keith Patterson, they're only blitzing 40% of the time, which is a lot different than the years past. So they're going to have to do it because Cal's offense is just so lethal. Yeah, I see what they're trying to do because they want 7 players in the backfield, and Cal is the second best offense in the nation, but they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to get to Webb quick. Otherwise, it's not going to be pretty.
So both these defenses have their hands full for sure.
Yeah.
Can we talk offense? Who's got the advantage here?
Yeah, I know. It's really funny because both of these offenses just are going up against defenses who just aren't going to be able to keep up the whole game. So it's going to be a high-scoring one. Arizona State's offense, they love to throw the ball, and they also love to run the ball. Almost 800 yards for both of those categories. And then you take a look at the Cal defense, and then they give up a lot of yards on the ground. But Cal's offense, they love to throw the ball, and Arizona State historically hasn't been good covering that. You take a look at the numbers right here. I think it's going to come down to which team is the more balanced and which is the more disciplined. I love looking at the penalties right here. You take a look, 17 for 206, and then 14 for 130. I think that's going to go a long way. And honestly, I think the more balanced offense defense, which Arizona State has, is going to be able to come out on top, and they've already been able to do it against Texas Tech. The Bear Raid, yes, it's going to be good, but I think Arizona State comes up with a W this weekend.
Bold predictions against the Bear Raid. That's Troy Lynch. We always love having you, man.
I love being here. Thank you.
Stick around. We got more coverage of ASU's weekend showdown against Cal. A pound-for-pound inside look at the ASU running core, courtesy of Megan Plain. Stick around. You won't want to miss it.
On to ASU volleyball. Sun Devils opened up Pac-12 play 2 nights ago with a loss against Arizona. The 4-set loss drops the team to 7-6 on the year and losers of their last 3. Cronkite Sports had full coverage. You likely saw the pregame show on Periscope, and we'll send it now to the postgame crew in Tucson to break things down.
Welcome into the Walter Cronkite Sports Network, continuing coverage of Arizona State volleyball. I'm Bobby Krause, joined by John Engelbert, Jacob Franklin, and Andre Sims. Sun Devils open up Pac-12 play here tonight in Tucson against their arch rival, the Arizona Wildcats. Ended up losing in 4 sets. Now, John, what was your first impression of the team in their first Pac-12 match?
You know, despite the loss tonight, Bobby, we saw a lot of good things out of the Sun Devils, including how they faced adversity. They lost the first set in front of the home crowd, then they came back and took the second set away from the Wildcats, and then they were down big in the 4th set and crawled their way back into the game. Unfortunately, they lost, but their ability to handle adversity is going to help them along the way.
Now, Jacob, throughout the entire preseason, the lineup has been a big question. We never know what head coach Stevie Mussey is going to run out there, what formation she's going to run out there. Tonight, they ended up running the 5-1. Do you see that continuing into the rest of the Pac-12 schedule?
No, I actually see them switching back to the 6-2 as soon as they get against Utah this weekend. We talked to Stevie after the game, and she mentioned that the only reason they ran the 5-1 tonight is that they don't have enough arms to make the rotations. They are a little bit banged up, and I think she told us that they've been running the 5-1 since Monday, so they've been running it for 2 days, and that kind of hurt them a little bit tonight, but I think we'll see them go back to the 6-2.
Now, Andre, no coach ever wants to come out of a match with a loss, but if you're Stevie Mussey, what's the one positive that you take from this match against the Wildcats?
It has to be the blocking. I mean, this was a team that mightily struggled with blocking at the beginning of the season, and to come out of this game with 14.5 blocks total as a team is very impressive. They had 10 blocks through the first 2 sets, which were arguably their 2 best sets of this match, and so to come out with that kind of force defensively for an undersized team is something that you really want to be able to hang your hat on. Aluma Caro, especially a middle blocker, has come in and played very, very well defensively, let alone the fact that her production offensively as well, but strictly defensively, she's been able to be a stabilizing force for this team in the blocking department, and coming away with 14.5 blocks in a Pac-12 match is never something to slouch at.
All right, Sun Devils will continue their Pac-12 schedule this weekend in Salt Lake City against the University of Utah. You can catch all of our coverage on the Arizona State volleyball team at cronkitesports.com. For John Engelbert, Jacob Franklin, and Andre Sims, I'm Bobby Krause.
Thanks, guys. 2 standout performers we'll highlight, Cassidy Pickrell and Aluma Akaro. 20 kills, 13 digs for Pickrell, her 4th double-double of the year. That one animal style, please. And for Okaro, a career-high 10 blocks. Next up for ASU, on the road against Utah on Saturday. All right, so there's your update on Arizona State volleyball. We'll now transition into our social media segment, and Gavin Shaw joins us in studio. Gavin, I'm eager to figure out this week who is fishing for retweets.
Well, pretty interesting first tweet. It comes courtesy of Daniel Grobner, former Sun Devil walk-on wide receiver. Peter Mortel 2 years ago was a holder from Minnesota, and he realized the Big Ten had awards for everything other than that position, so he made one up himself. Grobner edited it, so now Sun Devil punter and holder Matt Hawk is the man in the picture. Holder of the year, Matt Hawk? You guys buying it?
Hey, if Matt Hawk's holding it for Zane Gonzalez and Zane keeps booting him, then sure, he's my unsung hero of the team.
Yeah, little known fact, ASU's long snapper Mitchell Fabroni missed the first 3 games of the season, which means they had to burn a redshirt and put a walk-on as long snapper. And so that puts an emphasis on the actual holder himself. And there have been times this year when Matt Hawk has literally had to take the football off the ground and hoist it up for Zane Gonzalez. It's worked out so far.
That's tough.
All right, so the old adage is if you don't play quarterback, you maybe need to play two positions to win the Heisman. Matt Hawk is officially in the race. All right, second tweet, an international flavor to Arizona State basketball study hall. Players from 3 countries, the Congo, Spain, Ukraine, all represented. Is this kind of diversity basically kind of summing up what this Arizona State basketball team is all about?
Yeah, well, I want to make it clear that that is not an example of fishing for retweets. That's something that's genuinely cool, and I think study hall is such an underrated aspect of college athletics.
You would.
I know, I truly believe this, because so many times you see people kind of flaking off in the academic side of things, but study halls can be a very vital aspect to any student athlete's life.
ASU basketball is doing it. We're going to find out soon that ASU hockey is doing it. Let's make ASU the international school to go to for athletes. athletics.
Hey, Bobby Hurley is a Duke man. Studies are important. Third and final tweet, courtesy of Jalen Strong, second week in a row or 2 more weeks than the Houston Texans have scored points last night against the New England Patriots. He's essentially saying he wants it to be all done with social media. He doesn't want anyone to be on it. He'd still be the same person without it. He wants us to be out of a job. Do you guys not appreciate that?
I mean, obviously, I don't want to be out of a job. Social media is fun. What don't you like about it, Jalen?
I'm wondering if he's talking to the media or to his friends. Whoever is on social media, and an overwhelming presence in Jalen Strong's Twitter feed is obviously not making him too happy. I will say social media, not a net positive, not a net negative. It's just how you use it. And so if Jalen Strong doesn't want to use it, that's fine. I will continue to do so myself.
So Jalen Strong flying out of social media like the common nightingale. And now I fly out of this segment.
Fly away, birdie, fly away. Let's go back to the gridiron. They strike fear in the hearts of their opponents with the sound of their cleats pounding towards the end zone. As promised, Megan Plain delivers once again on another inside look at ASU football, this time into the hearts of the Sun Devils' run game.
ASU is heading into conference play, and at this point in the season, one of their bright spots is the running game, specifically Demario Richard and Kalen Balazs. Now, while these two are both running backs, they have very different roles when it comes to their position.
They pop him out, and I haven't gotten any carries yet, and they put me in, and I'm fresh, and we just rotate back and forth to the point where we just keep coming at the defense, and I know they have to be thinking like, geez, it's kind of ridiculous. You know, running backs coming in with fresh legs every time.
Most of my runs come after contact, so I mean, I feed off physicality, and I don't really shy away from nobody.
Richard is the tank of the offense and has 71 carries so far. He sees himself as the guy who wears down the opponent's defense before Balazs takes over.
He's physical. He's downhill. He understands, you know, what it means to run between the tackles, I think. And I think our guys feed off that.
I'm just breaking the defense down. Go ahead. Now, once you get in the bulk of me, you got to go get a bulk of him, too. So you pick your poison.
Balazs has significantly less carries than Richard, but 10 touchdowns and is a huge threat when used in the Wildcat formation, which ASU refers to as the Sparky package. He's the go-to guy when it comes to third and short situations and plays a huge role when it comes to the ground game in the red zone.
End zone, touchdown on every play. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 2, I want to go all the way. So it's just a mindset. Running hard is, you know, every time the ball is in your hands.
Thanks, Megan. On to ASU soccer we go. Got some highlights fresh off Adobe Encoder. ASU taking on number 11 UCLA. And boy, did the Bruins get things started off with a bang last night. Upper 90 from true freshman Jessie Fleming. She had not 1 but 2 goals on the evening. ASU mounted a furious comeback in the second half, or at least they tried to, but ultimately it was too little, too late against the number 11 UCLA Bruins. We now bring in Drew Andre into the studio, WCSN soccer editor. Drew, let's break down the game last night because ASU has a few days until they take on their next opponent. Against number 11 UCLA, it seemed like the Bruins got off to such a hot start, and ASU was really shell-shocked. What's the explanation for that?
Yeah, well, I just want to make a quick note. In that first half, really, there could have been 4 goals by UCLA instead of just 2. Emma Malsey actually did a pretty good job as the goalkeeper, but first half UCLA just looked like a much better team. Like the number 11 team in the country, and ASU was just outmatched overall. And then we move on to the second half, and all of a sudden, Sun Devils started to get things going a little bit. They had more shots on goal, and in fact, possession was actually favoring the Sun Devils versus UCLA.
So taking a look at those 2 graphics right there, the thing that stands out to me the most, 9 shots for UCLA in the first half, none for ASU in the first half. The second half rolls around, and suddenly it's a huge turnaround. ASU outshoots the Bruins over the final 38 minutes, 13-2, which is shocking because that's quite the turnaround for ASU in the second half. What did they do maybe schematically or approach-wise to suddenly change things?
Well, they stayed with about the same approach. However, they looked a lot more comfortable out there. They didn't feel like they were playing the number 11 team in the country. They went out there and basically did their job. They got passes through, and defensively, they looked a lot better. Like I said earlier, owned the possession, and that's really what was the difference maker.
2 players we want to highlight right now. One of them, Jasmarie Mater, who's making all the headlines as Callie Farguson's heir apparent, if you will. But Natalie Stevens, perhaps the more underrated option of the 2. All of a sudden, she's emerging as a goal threat, and that was especially on display in the second half.
Yeah, not only a goal threat, but she's also been a facilitator. Her and Jasmarie Mater have had great chemistry so far this year, and I've noticed it even more within the last 2 weeks or so. Stevens, she's always looking for midfielders, looking for Mater, see who she can get open, going down the field with through balls, things like that. And she's really done a great job, and she could be pretty big key for them going forward.
ASU drops to 1-17-2 all-time against UCLA. It's the first time this season in which they've been shut out. That's Drew Andre with the latest from ASU Soccer, and we'll send it back to you, Alex.
In only 14 days, ASU hockey season will be underway. Last year, the team went 5-22-2 against NCAA opponents in their first season as a D1 program. But this season, head coach Greg Powers has added a handful of key recruits to the lineup to help bolster that win total. Thanks to the Cronkite School's partnership with Google, here is a global view of where ASU hockey found its off-season talent with a breakdown by Colton Dodson.
Key players from Greg Powers' second NCAA recruiting class and their roots. So buckle up because we're about to rack up some miles. This year's class includes 7 freshmen who will likely see the ice at some point: Georgie Gorodetsky, Tyler Bush, Riley Simpson, Joey DeCord, Steenan Brinson Pashnuk, and Brett Gruber. First off, we're going to take a look at Coach Powers' first international recruit from somewhere other than Canada. To his credit, Powers has done pretty well in the Great White North in his first 2 years, but this year he landed his first Russian-born recruit in Georgie Gorodetsky of the USHL's Des Moines Buccaneers. Gorodetsky posted 8 goals, 24 assists in 55 games last season with the Bucs and should bring depth to an already deep pool of forwards this team boasts. Now let's head over to Edmonton, home of Riley Simpson. Simpson's point total in his final season with the Spruce Grove Saints is the first thing that jumps out at you. In 47 games, he posted 49 points, 20 goals, and 29 assists in the regular season, then added 2 goals and 6 assists in 13 playoff games as well. He also has experience with Tyler Bush, who we mentioned earlier. The two were teammates at Spruce Grove. Finally, we head back to the States to take a look at North Andover native Joey DeCord, a goalie who is being hailed as the crown jewel of Powers' recruiting class. DeCord played last season with the USHL's Muskegon Lumberjacks and set the team record for saves in a season with 1,344 in 20 games. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Ottawa Senators in 2015 and was considered one of the more elite prospects in the country. Now, we only had time to look at 3 of these guys, but all 7 come from elite backgrounds and should find success sooner rather than later in the desert. On paper, Powers really nailed this recruiting class. That's all for me. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
The Devils will begin their season on the road at Notre Dame on October 7th and 8th, but you can catch them the following weekend when they return to Gila River Arena to face off against Air Force on Friday, October 14th, and Sunday, October 16th.
Legacy media organizations are cutting staff. We here at Cronkite Sports are not. That's why we send a slew of reporters to the streets of Tempe to ask some of the most hard-pressing questions. The emphasis is humor, and the method is deception. Street and Greet returns for another semester.
Welcome to this edition of Street and Greet. I'm Miles Todd, alongside me Ryan Curry. We're out here on the infamous Mill Avenue. We're just trying to see how excited people are for the game against Cal on Saturday.
Well, as you can see, we've seen a lot of excitement tonight. The atmosphere at Mill Avenue is always incredible on a Thursday night. Getting excited for the big game this Saturday, so we were not afraid to ask him some lighthearted questions.
ASU football! Woo! Roll Tide!
So, another thing that happened was there's going to be a new starter on defense. His name is Haram Day. He's from the Islands. He's a new guy. He's barely been killed in practice. Do you think he'd be able to add a little addition to the defense?
Yeah, start him up, man. We need big dudes in this league.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, them foreigners are always good. So he has to be good.
Like, just punch people and go after them. It's very good.
We got a new player who does that a lot. His name's Haram.
I respect him.
We don't watch football. We like to watch badminton.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. You guys like to watch badminton?
Yes, we do.
Why do you guys like to watch badminton?
Oh my God, it's so exhilarating.
So Cal's QB got a tattoo of the U of A, Arizona on his arm. You guys heard about that?
Yes, I did actually because that's
I don't like it at all. Like, I don't even know his name or anything. Why is he going to Cal?
Oh, the birdie, how it floats, and the racket, the short shorts.
Short shorts.
Yeah, fabulous.
It was Brady White. Brady White, he could be starting at quarterback over Manny Wilkins. Manny Wilkins could be shifting to running back because, you know, he's a hurdling star, right?
Right.
How does that make you feel? Do you think Wilkins will make a good addition to the defense? What about you?
Why do you ask me first?
He's an absolute beast on defense.
Beast mode. Oh my God. Don't get me started.
He could be a new starting defensive star for ASU.
Yeah.
We're gonna win, but it's gonna be like, we're gonna be up there and then it's gonna be lower. We're gonna be 24 to 10.
All right, ready for?
Yeah, Devils!
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye, y'all.
Street and Greet, always a lot of fun. We're going to keep that fun going with everyone's favorite game, the way it is. You guys know the drill. It's a game of numbers. 3 questions, 3 answers, 1 very happy winner and 1 very sorry loser. I'm going to throw it to you first here. ASU Cal football, what are you going to be paying attention to this game?
I'm looking at a defensive change that ASU is making. Lyle Mokiola now going to spur linebacker. It opens up the bandit safety position for Jamarcus Rhodes. Maybe that leads to more success for ASU against a Cal offense that ranks 2nd in the country in passing. We shall see. All right, now zooming out a little bit broader perspective now. Pac-12 in general opens up conference play this week.
Right.
Aside from ASU Cal, which matchup are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to number 7 Stanford traveling to UCLA. This will be the 2nd week in a row that the Cardinal have taken on an LA-based team. Last week, USC didn't want anything to do with Christian McCaffrey, and guess what? I think he's going to go off again. I think McCaffrey and the Cardinal go on to win, but this time at the Rose Bowl.
Heisman watch.
Heisman watch indeed. Now let's talk ASU volleyball. Next week, they're going to have their very first home game, believe it or not. They've been on a 15-game road stretch. Is it possible that this volleyball team might be gassed by the time they get to Tempe?
Well, that was the reason a lot of people gave for their latest loss. Their head coach said it, the media said it, including our own Cronkite sports reporters.
That's true.
But I say they get healthy once they finally come home to Tempe. Starting so many games on the road to start the season, incredibly tough, especially for a young team. Over to ASU Hockey now. They haven't started their season yet, but I'm going to ask for a final season prediction from you. 5 wins or more, which is the total they had last year.
Well, I mean, we all heard it from Colton Dodgson earlier. ASU Hockey's got a lot of great talent coming into their program. They got 12 games scheduled at home. I think that they take quite a few of those. I'm going to predict 10 wins on the season. Now, I want to bring it back to the old Jake Garcia. Last year, you introduced something, a feel-good story in ASU athletics. What's this week's story?
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to research my background. It means a lot.
That's what I do, man. That's
good,
what I do.
Good job. But I will say that Keetek Lee is my Sun Devil feel-good story for this week. Senior on the ASU golf team, born in Korea, moved to Winnipeg, then to Vancouver, then to California, now is at ASU.
That's a lot of moves.
He's a very talented golfer, and this past weekend notched the best finish of his Sun Devil career. All right, final question for you, 6th and final one. If you could bring one Sun Devil athlete back and play for a current Sun Devil team, who would it be?
I'm probably going to catch a lot of grief on this one on Twitter, but I'm going to bring back Bengals linebacker Vontaze Burfict. That's right, I'm bringing back Vontaze. He was an absolute animal when he played for ASU. His only problem was he had no discipline. Who better to bring that to him than Coach Graham? And not to mention our defense has not been the greatest if you haven't been paying attention. So Vontaze Burfict's going to bring another level of energy to the defense.
Well, if Vontaze Burfict did half the things he did on a football field in civilian life, I think he would be in some pretty big trouble right now.
Probably, but that's going to be a conversation for another the way it is. How about that?
That sounds good to me. Let's see who our winner is.
Oh, you...
I graduated, in case you haven't heard. Well, everyone has an opinion on Colin Kaepernick. I conveniently do as well, but I want to give you a different vantage point. Kaepernick grew up in a California town called Turlock. It happens that I grew up there as well. From a local news angle, Kaepernick's protest is unprecedented. When someone from Turlock makes a social statement, it's usually so far right, it's wrong. Meanwhile, Kaepernick made news for the opposite. The power of methodical reason and critical speech prevailed. The same speech prevailed during the civil rights movement, and this type of speech will continue to prevail, whether you like it or not. And that's the way it is.
Let's head to our top plays. Number 3, sophomore middle blocker for ASU, Jasmine Kuntz, elevates against the U of A team. ASU would eventually lose to the Wildcats in 4 sets.
ASU UCLA last night from the soccer pitch, one of the many chances for UCLA on the evening, but Emma Malsey. Second look because our video editors are better than yours.
Play number 1, Manny Wilkins finds the true freshman N'Keal Harry. The UT San Antonio's feet were caught in the sauce. Secondary could not keep up, and N'Keal Harry will add on to his already 3 touchdowns this season for another. You know, Jake, I had a lot of fun with you. How about you, man?
It was a great show today and a great weekend in Sun Devil athletics ahead.
That is true. For Jake Garcia, I'm Alex Capriola. We will catch you again next week at 4 p.m. for another episode of Cronkite Sports Live. Till then.